Dobro, odakle se vidimo ovdje? Odakle se vidimo ovdje? I Bosanaca ima vrlo Merameka, otkud ovdje?
Bosanaca ima ovdje uvijek, mi smo u stvari ovdje svakog vikenda, danas je jedan specijalni dan.
Kako se ovo zove? Ovo je Iron Day, jel tako?
Iron Days, jeste. To je Old Bay, kako su prije živjeli,
Dobro.
željezo i tako.
Kako se zovete?
Jasmina.
Odakle, iz?
Iz St. Louisa.
A iz Bosne inače?
Iz Sarajeva.
Dobro, Jasmina, hvala ti lijepo za ovo.
Hvala, prijatno, čao.
Bosanci opet, jel da?
Naši. Nema bez naših ništa, jara.
Nema gdje nas nema.
Ovi nešto, vante, tante, gorte, dolite, ali naši, jara.
Odakle ste, momci?
Ja sam od Faje gore kod Teslić.
A ja sam i iz Kalnovika.
A vi odakle ste?
Iz Srebrenice.
A vi odakle ste?
Ovo je sin moj.
Kalnovi. Sin. I često se mi ovdje sretnemo.
Oja.
Mi ne idemo odale, ne?
To meso tu, jel to za svaki slučaj, šta?
Ma nije, to je
da se posluže
to je
ljudi.
užina, nije to ručak, to je kasnije
To je
ručak.
samo da se malo dođemo do sebe. Da se popravimo.
Ko naiđe, jel?
Jel ima ribe?
Ribe ima,
Tamo su lanci pa ćemo pokazati.
tamo lance da
Snimi
vidiš
malo, vidiš kako se ovi
kako
su
Bosanci love ribu.
Pa dobro, sad ćemo mi usput redom skroz.
No, neka snimi.
Nema problema, slučajmo se.
Vrelo izvor Merameka je prilike sat i pol vremena od St. Louisa. Ovdje možete vidjeti svaki vikend mnogo Bosanaca. Mislim da se sezona završava nekad početkom novembra. I ljudi dolaze i izvlače dobre komade. Ovdje je 200 ili 300 metara od izvora, dakle, voda je čista, možete piti komotno vodu, bez ikakvih problema, bez ikakvog filtriranja i bilo čega. Ima puno Amerikanaca i našeg svijeta ima puno. Bravo. Još su žive, ha? Svaka čast. vidim i ja, ima ih koliko voliš tu.
Moj oče. Ko je ranio? Mi se ovako poredamo, znaš, i onda udaramo ih. Jel ti dao ribu? Nije. Pa to je legal, ne smije se to raditi. Zabac, vidi koji je tu. Pa je moj kokoć. On se to uba... Bravo. Vidi kako je naučio zabacivat, Bon. Čija je? Gdje lanac? Gdje ti lanac? Onaj lanac, onaj. Chain. Idi ponesi, evo, evo riba. Evo ti Čiko da ribu. Ne treba, ne treba. To vidim, koja? Nemoj puštat, ba. Pa nemoj puštat, ba. Stani, ba. Nas imamo 4 dozvole, evo, stani. Evo lanac. Da, pojke. Da. Gotovo. Kiki, Riki. Idi ponesi chain. Moraš donijeti chain. Biće ne treba. Šta ne treba? Opa. Primi me. Eto i malo bliže gore tebe. Znaš kakve su dvije dole? Tako i sam je trpima. Kući ti.
Lutanje je moje svijet obišlo, lupovanje moje i žena promijenilo. I na kraju druže sam ostao, i na kraju brate pijanac postao. Svi mi kažu da sam čovjek lutalica, svi mi kažu da sam čovjek propalica. O Bože moj, da li je to istina? O brate moj, tugo golema. propalica nisam, neka znaju svi. Propalica nisam, nek puknu dušmani. O Bože moj, da li je to istina? O brate moj, tugo golema. Svi mi kažu da sam čovjek lutalica. Svi mi kažu da sam čovjek propalica. O Bože moj, da li je to istina? O brate moj, tugo golema. Svi mi kažu da sam čovjek lutalica. Svi mi kažu da sam čovjek propalica. O Bože moj, da li je to istina? O brate moj, tugo golema.
Well, what I do with my carvings is try to show those old methods and styles with the antique birds. They used to, along the East Coast, they hunted these little birds and they used carvings like these for decoys. And this is the way they start out, with a block of wood. And I cut this out with a bandsaw. That gives me a real blocky piece like that. And then I draw the top part on here and cut that out. That gives me a piece like this. And after about an hour and a half using a knife and a rasp, this is kind of what I use to start from here on. About an hour and a half or 2 hours, it looks like that. And this would be ready to put the bill in it. And then that's the easy part. So now I've got to paint it. Painting takes about 5 hours. So they all go through the same process. This is a sandpiper, and that's kind of the way that they all go. This is a large curlew. Now this is out of pine. This is easy to work with, but it's got a lot of grain, so I don't carve many out of that. The penguins are new for me this year. I try to have something new every year for the show. I just did the Botanical Garden show in St. Louis. Super show. This is all I have left of them. And the Cardinals went really well. It depends on how the baseball Cardinals do. So they went really well. And this is one that I just finished today. It's got to be painted yet. But when the carvers didn't want it, these are called yellow legs here. And this is the summer plumage and the winter plumage. And when the carvers didn't want to do a full-size decoy, they took boards and just cut out a flatty for obvious reasons. They didn't have to carve anything, they just had to paint it. And this gave them something to hunt with without all the carving. We went down to Sanibel Island over the summer and I saw some ibis. So this was my first ibis, and I found these little shells down there. Just love those little things. This is another one down there, ibis down there. And this is a woodcock. This is a whippoorwill. They're kind of a nocturnal bird, so you don't see many of those. In fact, the only one I've ever seen was on a grill of a truck, splattered. They have little whiskers, and I could never figure out how to do the whiskers. Red-winged blackbird. And then this is a little goldfinch. I do a few songbirds and try to put them on some limbs and things. And I collect old bird calls and things. But here's a couple of decoys that were actually hunted over. This is a curlew, and the bill on this is a pitchfork tine. And then this one is a very thin decoy. It has brass eyes and a little cut nail bill. It actually has shot holes in it. When they hunted these little birds back in the 1800s, they shot them on the ground, so your decoys got splattered as well as the birds. And they had calls that they used just like the duck hunters. And this is a little sandpiper call. And this one's made out of buffalo horn, goes back to about 1890. This one kind of looks like it's missing a pin, but actually it's a bird call. And then later on, this is actually a call made by Ludwig Company out of Chicago, and it came out for the silent movies. It was called a sound trap, and Ludwig still makes band instruments today, but this had water. So the band sat down in front of the screen. If they had a bird up there, and they had them for roosters and other animals and things, and the hunters actually began to use these to hunt with. And then I collect old calls. This is a turkey call made out of a turtle shell. And this is a piece of American hornbeam called ironwood. And this is the kind of the bark that it has on it. So I did a little turtle. Can you see my little turtle? And it's on a piece of cypress. But it's just a hobby that I've enjoyed for a number of years. And all of these birds on here are real except one. That's this one. These are all real species. This is called a Nantucket rocker. It originated in Nantucket, and it's called a rocker because it rocks.
So how long are you doing this, sir?
I carved my first piece for an anniversary present for my wife when we were married 3 years, and past September we were married 59 years.
Oh my God.
So I've been doing this for 57 years. Never dreamed I'd ever carve anything to sell, but I have carved over 6,000 pieces. They've gone all over the world. I was at the Botanical Garden, for the last 20 years, doing that Best of Missouri Market Show, and a young man had purchased, he had purchased a sandpiper, and I was wrapping it up for him, and he said, "I'm going to send this to my mom." I said, "Well, where does she live?" "Oh, she lives in Italy." I said, "Man, you know." But several years ago, Columbia, Missouri has a sister city in Japan. And they came over here and went to Columbia. They bought 6 of my carvings to take back. They were doing some kind of celebration, and they were going to give those away as gifts. So I've got them, actually I've sold them from coast to coast. Bar Harbor, Maine sold them in a gallery up there for a few years. Just a hobby that I thoroughly enjoy.
How we can find you? What's the phone number, address, webpage, anything?
Yeah. I have a little working studio out in Stillville, and I don't have a website, but I have email. But I'd be glad to. And I collect old fishing tackle, as you see, some bugs and things there. And this is an interesting piece here. There were very few commercial decoys available back in the 1860s, 1870s. This is called a tinny, made out of tin, held together with wire rings. And they came a dozen in a box, stuck together like a bunch of cookies. And they had 12 little posts with a brass ferrule on it. So these would fold up. They would stick them in this, take them out and stick that in the mud. And then they got back in the blinds with their calls, and they would call them in. People thought $6 a dozen was way too much. So they carved their own, and that's what those kind of represented. These went out of business in 1890. So these have not been produced since 1890. Anyone have any questions? It's just a hobby that I've thoroughly enjoyed. This is the only one that I do that's stylized. That's a little Bob White. And this is a woodcock, and that's a whippoorwill. Those are spotted sandpipers. This is a solitary sandpiper.
Thank you very much for your time.
Springfield. It was a 69 caliber smooth bore. It was the first Springfield to come out with a cushion lock on it. All the models before still had the flint lock on them. The next one is the model 1855. This was the first Springfield that came out as a 58 caliber rifle musket, and it also had a Maynard tape lock on it, which was similar to the little cap that a cap gun fired. This wasn't real reliable, so they ended up going back to the caps that they used on the other locks. Then they came out with the model 1861, and these two are pretty much similar except for the lock. This lock was a lot cheaper to produce than this one. And this is the lock that was used mostly in the Civil War by the Northern troops. This is an Enfield which was imported from England, and this one was used by both the North and South. The South didn't have a whole lot of resources to produce their own, so they imported a lot from England, and the North also couldn't make these fast enough, so they imported a lot of these from England as well.
So the clothing which you're wearing, is that original?
It's a reproduction from the Civil War.
Okay. So what the uniform? What those two guys are wearing? This which?
The longer coat that he's wearing is a frock coat. And in the pre-Civil War Army, the frock coat was the dress uniform for the infantry. The light blue piping on there, that was the infantry colors.
What is this? Sorry, it's just too classic.
This is the cartridge box, and the cartridges looked like this, and they were in the cartridge box. There were 10 of them on the top in each of the tins, and at the bottom then they would have another tin, another bundle that was usually still wrapped, and so they carried 40 rounds with them in their cartridge boxes. And so whenever they were ready to fire the musket, they would reach in their cartridge box, pull out their cartridge, tear it with their teeth, and load their musket. Then after it was loaded, they put the cap onto the cone, and so this here is the cap pouch, and it was wore on the belt here and was about right here on the soldier. And so they'd reach in there and put the cap on, and then they would be ready to fire. And a good infantryman could do that about 3 times a minute. That's just a kid game that I put out for the kids to play with.
I know.
This here is a Union Army ration from 1861. This in the sandwich bag is salt pork. It's about 3/4 of a pound, which was their daily ration. They would have got that, or fresh pork, or fresh beef, or salted beef. This is hardtack. They would have got a pound of this. They would have got.
This was used to raise the final loaf of bread in before it was baked. It was just to give it its round loaf shape. And on bake day, you're baking for the whole week, which you may be baking up to 20 loaves of bread at one time. So you're going to have about 20 of those baskets. But that was the most common basket. Others were the bee scaps and storage baskets, gathering baskets.
So your wife told me that you are one between not many people doing this still.
No, I only know of 2 other people that do it, and they only do it for their own. If they need a basket, they'll make one for themselves.
Okay.
But as far as demonstrating, I'm probably the only one left doing it.
What's your name, sir?
It's Mike Yeomans.
The shoes which you got, the new feet, you know, what is it?
Those are wooden shoes.
Okay, from Holland, if I...
Well, they were made by Dutchmen, but the thing is European farm families wear them.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
in
why I'm
fact-
asking you. I recognize that I was in Holland a long time ago, and that's lots of people still,
In fact,
were, you know, were fun.
yeah,
Very comfortable.
yeah, and people, yeah, they are comfortable. And even when they immigrated to America, they still wore them here.
So, what is this what you're doing right now?
I'm doing, it's a rye coil basket. It's done with rye straw. And the basket I'm working on right now is going to be a bread raising basket. And that's what this is here. It's a bowl-shaped basket. It was used to raise the final loaf of bread in before it was baked to give it its round loaf shape. And on bake day, you're baking enough for the whole week, which may be up to 20 loaves at a time. And all the bread goes in the bake oven at once, so you're going to have at least 20 of these baskets. So this tended to be the most common basket that was made. It was usually the men of the family that that made the baskets. It was probably done during the winter time, not so much that he had free time during the winter, but if there was a need, if there was going to be a need for a basket, that would probably be about the best time to do it.
Well, the material what you're using, what is it exactly?
The material I'm using, what I have in the trough here, this here is rye straw.
You got them in the water, right?
Yes, it's to make it pliable.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would start breaking up on me, and I'd have pieces all over the place.
Usually.
him chuck rocks before. I don't want him throwing the wall there with me. Woo! See if I got enough music in this one, son. Doing my time. I'm so rock proud with a